that's what would be considered dandy. Like you said, that's the version. Is that the version that you like? Not like the other version that you're talking about.
This time in my life has been incredibly. It has been an incredible blessing. I am, really, really lucky enough to have two pieces in the upcoming Met Gala exhibition, and it's just an amazing experience. To have been working for my brand is 5 years old, and I've been designing professionally now for 5 years. And the Met reached out and asked to have two pieces, two looks of mine in the exhibit, and I was just floored with excitement. It's an amazing opportunity. It's something that I remember exactly when I got the email where I was. It arrived late in the night. It was like around like 11 or midnight, and I was freaking out. I was just like, at first I had to check it to make sure it was from an official email, and so it was just, and then the excitement came in, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And it was one of those things where I'm like, am I allowed to say anything to anyone about it, or do I keep it to myself? And I let my team know, of course. But it was such a, I can't even describe the feeling. It's definitely one of those emotions that feel, I grew up, watching the Met Gala red carpet. I grew up, just wanting a piece of that, to be a part of it somehow. And, when the exhibit got announced, I was like, oh, my work fits. I was thinking to myself, like, the work fits into the exhibit, and I was excited about it. But I didn't realize that they were already thinking about me or my brand to include in the exhibit. And when they reached out, it was amazing. Sorry, give me a second. I need to find it. Usually, for me, the word dandyism, it really means about taking space. As a black designer, as a queer person, it's just a lot of it is rooted in people telling us who we should be or how we should act in different spaces. And I think dandyism really goes against that. It's really about showing up and looking your best self and taking up space and announcing that you are here without really having to say it. So we were looking at this trench coat that was inspired by the Ghana Must Go movement in West Africa, when Ghanaians were expelled out of Nigeria, and they had to use these sort of Chinatown market bags to move out of it. And so I redid the print in the Togolese flag colors, and then yeah, and it's sort of this idea of, again, taking up space, really representing someone who dresses to the nines. Sort of the traditional, sort of modern take about dandyism, which is a sharp fit, sort of tailored suit. However, for me, I, as a designer, I like to sort of bring nuance to that in a way of it's really just about taking up space and wearing something that makes you feel really, really good. And but there are people that would argue that it isn't about that. There are people that would really just think it's about the suit that you're wearing and the top hat, and but for me, I think that's what this exhibition does really fondly, is really putting together a group of amazing clothing that really redefines what dandyism is. It's just motivation for me to keep doing what I'm doing, regardless of who's watching or who may not be paying attention. I am, it is validation for me that I am doing what I was called to do. This is my calling, and this is something that I'm proud to be doing. I grew up watching the red carpets of the Met Gala. I grew up attending the Met exhibits, and so again, this is, if it's kind of a pinch me moment to really just reflect and be like, this is something that I grew up watching, and I get to have a piece of my art in that space. Inspire that, but I don't know if there's anything here. But sorry, there's a. I'm trying to find some for you.